Welcome back, and thanks for joining us for our penultimate review show. It's our NFL Week 17 review here at Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. Plenty decided, plenty still to decide. 4 division winners, 2 number 1 seeds, and even the number 1 pick kind of as well. So still plenty left for Week 18, but we're here to round up everything that took place in Week 17 over Christmas week. Byron, Joe with me as always. Gentlemen, how are you both doing?
Great, yeah. Fun Christmas week. A lot of fun football, and yeah, one more game to go. But yeah, been a fun one so far.
Yeah, it's been a good one. Obviously, coming into this weekend, it could have been everything was sewn up, all the playoff spots, everything would have been decided. But the NFL's got what he wants. We'll obviously get into it, but yeah, like I said, 2 must-win games and a battle for the number 1 seed. So the NFL has got some excitement in Week 18, but yeah, obviously we're here to talk about Week 17, which was a fun one starting on Christmas Day, Saturdays, games everywhere. It was football every single day.
Feast of football over Christmas week. And well, Joe, we've got to start with last night, Sunday night. It was the game of the week. Let's start there. It was the San Francisco 49ers 42, the Chicago Bears 38. The 49ers survived to secure ticket to winner-take-all clash. And a Sunday Night Football classic finishes with San Fran outlasting the Bears, a thriller that sets up the biggest game of the season for all the marbles in the NFC. Joe, I wish we would have probably had you attached to a heart monitor sort of during this. That would have been fun, just sort of seeing the readings. How was it? Because this game was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, obviously it didn't start off the greatest way when you received the ball and on the first play it's interception for a touchdown for the Bears. And, we talk about Purdy a lot where he can have these games, especially on prime time, where he throws a few interceptions and the Bears defense can take plenty away. But after that, it was, again, another perfect performance from Purdy from the offense. It was, they had to actually have the punt. He actually had to do something for his wage this week, but still they went touchdown, punted, touchdown, end of half, touchdown, a punt and touchdown. So it was just like non-stop points. I think the offense is now clearly, it's them and Rams are the best 2 offenses in the league. They've played a couple of performances last few weeks. Purdy's he's had 5 touchdowns in the last 2 games. I think it's been a while since that happened. I know Brady had a couple and a few of it as well. So he's just been non-stop. Kyle Shanahan is just, he's pulling out everything out of his bag of tricks. And I think the 49ers are just going to be in these games. And if they're going to win the whole thing to get to the Super Bowl, they're going to have to probably play games like this because against the defense can't stop anything. The Bears offense it's a good offense as well. I think when you're coming into this game, the strength was on offense and not the defense, but scoring 38 points and the 49ers didn't really hardly stop them. They only won that game because time really ran out. I think if they had a few more players, I think the Bears would have got in. So both guys getting over 300 yards. It was just a perfect performance. Running game was surprisingly good. They got over 200 yards on the rush game. McCaffrey again, 140 yards, 6 yards on average, and just you can't really ask for much more. And just Purdy making a ridiculous play, spinning in and out, and Caleb showing what he's been showing the last few weeks. I have a question for you, Pucks. Obviously, coming into the draft when Caleb was, to go number 1, you were his biggest fan. Have you changed your opinion now, just how he's played the last few weeks and how he played again today, that he is showing that he is, certainly like a top 12, top 15 kind of quarterback and possibly could push on going forward?
Yeah, I had a good run on that take, to be fair. But yeah, I think it's definitely looking like a poor one now. But it's taken ultimately, I suppose, the marriage of Caleb and Ben Johnson, hasn't it, to make that happen. And I think we've mentioned it a few times. It's almost as the weeks go by, you just see they're more and more in step with each other. Caleb's understanding more what Ben Johnson's looking to do, and he's delivering upon it and understanding it. And I thought he had another great. I thought he played really, really well again. And just some of the throws, the one over the top touchdown to Burden, even the maybe more akin to like the Aaron Rodgers when you draw him offside and get the free play, take advantage of it, and he nailed that to Loveland in the end zone. And he just does seem to be getting better and better. And it was never a question of the talent or ability. From what we saw, I think it was the what's upstairs and everything else, and he seems to just got a grip of it. And yeah, he's playing really, really, really good football. And yeah, I think for the Bears, this one again, we're not the type of games you want to live in, but again, I think they just showed similar to when they got beat by the Packers the other week. They're right. They are right there. They are right there with the top teams. And yeah, this game could have gone either way. So yeah, I don't think not too much of a damaging loss for the Bears. And the Niners, big win in terms of keeping them alive for the game we're going to get. But Byron, what did you make of this?
Yeah, I can't really add too much to what you've already said between you, really. I did think Caleb Williams missed a couple of crucial throws, though. There was one on that last drive to Devin Duvernay where he just kind of grounded it, and if he'd had his head up a little earlier, it's a touchdown, I think, because Duvernay's in so much space and he's so quick. So I think there is still work to do for Caleb, despite the huge highlights. And the highlights are very, very, very impressive. But if he can just get to that point of not making mistakes as well, then I do think you've got, you kind of hesitate to say, but like the next superstar in the league, because his quality of throws, like you say, that Paulson Loveland throw, it looks like he's basically handed it as a handoff. It was so accurate, it was so perfect downfield. He just needs to iron out the little mistakes, and you've really got a threat there. So, yeah, I don't have much to add. I did think there was a great quote from Chris Collinsworth on the coverage, though, of basically Ben Johnson made training camp so hard for Caleb Williams so that tonight, or nights like tonight, last night, Sunday Night Football won't be hard for him. You know, he's putting in these huge game play calls, and then, no, I'm not going to repeat it back to you in a 2-minute drill. You have to figure it out. And there was, reports of them falling out in training camp and Caleb Williams struggling through training camp. And I mean, you just have to, again, take your hat off to Ben Johnson and say, you know what, he clearly knows what he's doing. He's revitalized Caleb Williams. And yeah, not too damaging a loss for the Bears. They would love to have won it, obviously, but huge win for the 49ers for the battle for number 1 seed come Saturday.
Yeah, just a quick one, Joe, as well, from a Niners perspective. Obviously, they managed to find a way to win this game without, I know we talk about the injuries a lot with the Niners. Kittle, there was no Kittle, right? Trent Williams came out pretty early. Does that give you a bit of confidence that they can find ways to win these big games even without kind of those big experienced players?
I would obviously you'd want both of them players. Like I think this Bears defense, we've talked about the Bears defense where they'll boom or bust, where they do take you away, but they aren't a great defense as a whole. When they're playing, obviously, next week with the Seahawks, I think that's a bigger test. And if they can beat them without them kind of players, I know they did with a few other teams, then, yeah, that would give you confidence. I was going to give a shout to Jake Tong, just had a huge game, 7 receptions for 60 yards. He's just filled in the shoes of when Kittle goes out. But you want them kind of players in. I think they'll be back next week. And, like I said, it gives you confidence, but you're not going to play a Bears defense each time. I think when you play the Rams or Seahawks, you have to be perfect, and these big players have to play because they're going to score points in the end. I think, but it was another good show. And if they can keep teams at home, all great. I don't know if you saw some of the facts from this game. It was I think it's the first games when each team went 7-7, then 14-14, then 21-21, then 28-28, and then 35-35, which is great. And also the Bears got the most receiving yards by rookies in a single game with Burden and Loveland. I think it was like a really old record. They overshot. I think Burden's actually stepped up and he's been getting better and better throughout the year. But he did go off with an injury right at the end. I don't know, he was limping apparently up the tunnel, and you didn't get too much from DJ Moore, and Adunze was, I think he would guess he was out because he wasn't targeted. So you hope that Burden. And it's one of them weird things now because the Bears lost that game. They've already sewn up the NFC North, and it's a battle between second and third. You can probably rest a few players. There's a few of these teams who actually lost in week 17. It might actually turn into an advantage that you can have technically a week off next week before the wild card. So, yeah, shout out to the Bears. I thought they played and they're showing up. They just need to. I think it's the matchups that they're going to get in the playoffs. I think would determine how they succeed going forward.
And quick one, also we will talk about in depth during the preview, but Seahawks Niners next week for the NFC West and the number 1 seed in the NFC. Niners open up as 1.5 point underdogs at home. Feel like I like the plus number. What do you think, Joe?
Well, obviously I'm going to lean the Niners. It feels like the Niners have had something over the Seahawks the last couple of years, but yeah, I think it's a coin toss. I think I do worry about that Seahawks defense because I think they can stop the 49ers on a couple of drives. And it's just, can we frighten Sam Darnold to make mistakes and hold them down, because our defense has not been able to do that. And another thing as well, there's been reports that Fred Warner might be available for the conference championship if they make it that far. There's been rumors about that. It's ahead of schedule, which I'm not surprised being all pro thread.
Well, what a boost that would be if they get. And we know, Joe, when they get to this point, they either miss the playoffs or get to the NFC Championship game as a minimum. That's where we've lived with the Niners for the past however many years. So I know.
Before I move on entirely from this game, what I thought you were going to get to is Caleb Williams needs 270 passing yards on Sunday to become the Bears' first ever 4,000-yard passer. Playing the Lions, who give up about 220 through the air a game. Does he get there?
Well, would you rest him? No, that's the thing. Would you play him just to get that 4,000?
I play in the first half at least to see if he gets in the and if he's like, 180 plus, I keep him in until he gets it.
Interesting.
And if he gets injured, I get Ben Johnson isn't getting fired, but I get egg-faced.
Yeah, Bears fans coming for you, and you're in the area. Cool. Let's move on to our next game. To Saturday, so the first of the two games on Saturday, we'll talk about Texans 20, Chargers 16. Texans turn up heat after going over the top. Houston are a problem now. They've found a deep passing game with the shambles of an O-line, giving Stroud time to drop bombs, and there's some awful spelling mistakes there if you're watching on YouTube. Yeah, Texans early showed us something a little bit different, or something they've not really been able to deliver on for the most part of this season. That offensive line, might be again, a little bit due to the opposition, but that offensive line showed it can give CJ Stroud some time, and he was able to make huge plays down the field to Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel, perfectly timed, I guess, this week, for touchdowns. And yeah, it didn't last the game because he started getting, the Chargers started getting a little bit of pressure without necessarily sacking him. But if the Texans can add this and the O-line can start playing better alongside that defense, which again, I was so worried that Justin Herbert was going to get smashed up. And I was saying to you guys a little bit of a laugh about once he started getting beat up early, maybe you've just got to take him out for his own good, because do you want to be starting Trey Lance come wildcard week? Because that looked like where it was going, because he was getting smashed on that hand, that surgically repaired broken hand. Just wasn't good. He was under pressure constantly. But Texans can add this deep passing game or a semblance of a steady O-line and give CJ Stroud time to that beast of a defense. They are going to be such a difficult out in the playoffs. I think they are so dangerous on that side of the AFC. What did you make of Texans Chargers?
I mean, this defense is scary enough, but I think the biggest Christmas gift CJ Stroud got was the Chargers defense didn't show up for the first half of the first quarter. If you decide that you want to give them a 14-0 lead by not getting any pass rush or covering downfield, it's an interesting combination of tactics. Yeah, at least do one of the two. Because once, and it's easy to say, but after they had those two, I dare say, relatively fluky touchdowns, the Texans offense didn't do much of anything, really, the rest of the game. They didn't need to. That's very important to say. They never went behind. They kept the Texans at Chargers at arm's reach. But I don't know how repeatable that is. I just think the Chargers kind of came in half asleep, got caught out. Really good play by CJ Stroud, really well tracked by Higgins and Noel downfield. But I don't know how repeatable that is. This defense is repeatable. We've seen it week in, week out. But goodness, don't give them a 2-touchdown lead off the bat. I'm not sure teams need to be told that, but apparently the Charbars did. So, yeah, I still think the Texans are scary. I still think they can be kind of that juggernaut through the playoffs, because the AFC, I think, is wide open. I don't think the Broncos don't look like a number one seed, regardless of the record. They don't. The Patriots have their own problems, a really good team. We'll get onto the Bills later, obviously, with their issues. The Texans' defense, I think, is the best unit, certainly on the AFC side of the playoffs. So if this offense can get to this level, I'm not expecting them to again score 2 deep touchdowns in the first quarter every game, but even if they could just get me functional, get Nico Collins more involved, because again, they didn't need to because they already had that 2-touchdown lead, I think they can go with anybody, yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know if you saw the stat, like the Chargers only giving up like 2 20-plus catches during the year, and they've gave up like 2 in the first 2 drives. So obviously, like you mentioned, is it going to be repeatable? I do agree with that if this Texans that defense is so good, but if they like get down heavy, if they go down 2 touchdowns, do you see CJ Stroud and that offense being able to do? I think they possibly could. They've got the firepower and they've got the players. They've just not shown it week on, week out. But I think obviously when they gave up that 14 points, I was like, wow, this could be a drubbing. Just how the Texans were looking and how the Chargers came out. So the fact the Chargers came back and, when you look at the overall score, kick of the dicker, or Dicker the kicker, missed a
call him Kick of the Dicker if you want.
Yeah, you could go in. He missed a field goal and missed an extra point. That's 4 points. That's the game right there. So these big things matter. Obviously, I think he got Pro Bowl. There was a big thing that Fairbairn didn't get the Pro Bowl for the Texans, but he kicked everything and Dicker didn't. So I think these two teams are very similar. I think, again, I haven't gone out of this game be thinking like, oh, wow, that if they play again, this is repeatable. I think, again, it could be a coin toss game where it can come down to little mistakes like that, like what the defense did and what the kicker did. So I don't think I've changed wildly. I think, like I said, the AFC, I wouldn't be surprised right now if any team gets to the conference or the Super Bowl. I think everyone's fairly similar-ish. They've all got strengths, they've all got weaknesses. So, a fun game in California.
Yeah, now that Chargers-Broncos game isn't going to be for the AFC West. Jim Harbaugh's confirmed that they're going to sit Justin Herbert for Week 18. Broncos need to win that game to get the number 1 seed. Kind of waving the white flag a little bit, but it makes sense. And again, the way that game was going, I was imploring, shouting at the TV, please take Justin Herbert out of the game. So, I think he's ultimately 2 weeks off. Rest that broken hand a little bit and maybe comes back a difference, because you can see it's definitely just impacting the way Justin Herbert's playing. So Broncos delighted to hear that, and they're going to be playing Trey Lance this week with needing to win to get the number 1 seed. I'm sure the Patriots and I guess Jacksonville Jaguars not particularly happy to see that news. Texans secured their minimum wildcard spot. The AFC South is still in play. If the Jags slip up, the Texans can take advantage. So still plenty to play for there as well. But I was very impressed overall by again the Texans defense. How can you not be? Let's move on to Byron's spotlight and takeaway. Oh, Joe's spotlight and takeaway game. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, I do mind since it's the other Saturday game. We'll go in order. So, what you talking about, Willis? Henry deals a full house. King Henry reigns supreme with 216 yards and 4 touchdowns to turn the Packers into cheese curds. Set up a grand finale versus the guys they don't like very much. So, this was a fun game on a Saturday. Obviously, there was news if Lamar would be playing or if Jordan Love, and both of them didn't. It makes sense for the Packers with the Lions losing on Christmas just to secure their playoff berth. And there was some questions about, is Lamar tough enough and he should be playing for his team when they need the win, but he didn't. And Tyler Huntley played instead, and I think it was all about, as mentioned, King Henry. He's now the leading player to have the amount of games with 200 yards. I think he's moved to 7, above Adrian Peterson and OJ Simpson. And it was that kind of game where they just feed him the ball and he does what he does. Obviously, last week we talked about what happened last week where Henry wasn't given the ball for the last 12 minutes, and we said Harbaugh made such a mistake and he didn't make it this week. And they just showed their might. There's a huge worry about the Packers where they just haven't stopped anyone for the last 5 quarters. I think they've given up 60-odd points in the last 5-6 quarters against the end of the Bears game and this game. And you can see, it's fairly obvious with the Parsons injuries what happened. But, this game, it was like touchdown, field goal. I think there was 1 punt and the Packers had the opportunity, but then the Ravens just ran straight through them. And on the flip side, though, Malik Willis probably played one of the best games you see from a quarterback all year, certainly from a backup quarterback. Went 18 of 21, 288 yards. He ran for 60 yards as well. He was that whole offense, and he's certainly probably got a starting job next year, I'm guessing, with some of these opportunities. My early shout is he's going to be the Dolphins QB, especially if McDaniel stays. I think that kind of quarterback would work perfectly with him. But how good he played, and that defense is just not showing up. It was disappointing for the Packers, and they're limping into the playoff. They're the one team where probably them and the NFC South, if you're anyone else, you're like, okay, we'll take them in the wild card because you feel fairly confident you would beat them. But how the Ravens played and who they've got next week, and we'll talk about that result soon. It makes an interesting Week 18 and makes the AFC North certainly more interesting.
Yeah, I think we shouted out on the show maybe 5-6 weeks ago. This is where it was going. Ravens, Steelers, Week 18, Sunday Night Football. This is the trend we were looking at. And that's what we've got. And yeah, ultimately, I think I don't know where you feel this might be better for the Ravens or not. Harbaugh said today they are still not sure if Lamar is going to be fit enough to play on Sunday. And would they roll better with Snoop Huntley, do you think?
I think, yeah, if Lamar's fit, you play Lamar, ultimately. But I also don't expect John Harbaugh to come out and tell us who's fit on Monday, 6 days out. Heading into the game of the season for the both teams, but for the Ravens, there's no benefit to him to say, "Oh yeah, we know it's going to be Lamar or we know it's going to be Tyler Huntley." Make them prepare for both of them. Make them prepare for either of them. Just no upside to spilling that beans. And with how Lamar's been over the last, most of the season, let's be truthful. Like, I don't think they will know until really late. He's came out of games through injury. He's had, there was it Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, whatever the Ravens won recently, where it was like, here's the list of injuries, and it was head, shoulders, knees, toes, and now back, and whatever else will get added to the list by Sunday. So I don't think they'll know, and I dare say we might see Tyler Huntley at some capacity, regardless of who starts the game.
Yeah, we'll see in the build-up to the game. But from a Packers perspective, it is. You mentioned, Joe, it's funny what happens to a defense when Micah Parsons comes out.
Yeah, I think they've just lost their identity. I think the issue, with both Parsons, not just like giving the pass rushing ability, it's that all the focus is on him. And then when you can just spread it out, where I think the fact was the offensive line was winning like 2 yards per every rush they were getting before Hemmer was being touched. But when you're giving that to any team, they're going to run all over you. Like, Tyler, I think he had a good game, but he only threw for 107 yards when you actually look at the stats. But I think he controlled it, and they just ran it down the throat. When you look at the Green Bay, like I said, Malik Willis was the lead in Russia because Josh Jacobs got 4 carries for 3 yards and Emmanuel Wilson got 3 carries for 16 yards. They just couldn't get it going on the ground. And it's not like this Ravens defense played great or dominated this game, because I think, like we mentioned, Malik Willis was able to do what he really wanted in the air. And obviously Clayton Tune came in and when Willis got injured and threw the interception, which it wasn't on him. It was on the drop catch. But yeah, it's just a huge worry that it just feels like how they start the year, and then this, they've had odd games where you're like, okay, this Packers team might be for real. That the last few weeks is gonna, it is dropped a level, and you can see what Jordan Love will be in next time or the playoffs, but he's not going to play as good as Malik Wilson played against the Ravens on Saturday. So disappointing from them, and they just got to figure that out. And it's weird that the defensive coordinator was one of them names was like, oh, he's going to be the head coach next year and all this, and then they've had a couple of games. You're like, yeah, probably not. Sorry.
It's weird when you have a defense loaded with first round picks and you add Micah Parsons to it, and suddenly the DC's head coaching candidate.
Do you remember? I'm sure you will. Do you remember when Matt Flynn came and played a week, 16 or 17 game, whenever it was at the time?
Yeah,
5 touchdowns. Yeah, week 17. 5 touchdowns, went and got paid, and then was absolutely useless. I kind of feel like this is what the Malik Willis performance will be, because as soon as he goes away from Matt LaFleur, he's going to go back to what he was.
Not sure I agree, but I can see the logic.
Yeah, we'll see. Just repeat that. Anyway, let's move on. Byron, your spotlight and takeaway for this week?
Yeah, Pittsburgh shut out Myles Garrett, but at what cost? Toothless Steels fail again in Cleveland. They haven't won there since Big Ben retired. Rodgers releasing the ball as quick as it gets there to no avail. Mike Tom 9 again, but it all comes down to Sunday Night Football. Steelers lose on the road to the Browns 13-6. I referenced that stat there. Aaron Rodgers has been the quickest quarterback to get the ball out this season. 2.61 seconds. 2.39 seconds was getting the ball out yesterday. He did not want to touch that ball. Get me that ball. Get rid of that ball. Get it released. Get it released. That's all it was yesterday. They have no wide receivers with DK Metcalf, knocking himself out of a few games with his actions. Pat Frymouth leading receiver. After that, you've got Scotty Miller Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Adam Thielen, even Kenny Gainwell couldn't even get above 12 yards and receiving beast through the last 6 weeks of the season. And Steelers, again, put it all on themselves. They just, again, can't win in Cleveland. Like I said, last time they won there was 2021, Ben Roethlisberger's last game at Brown Stadium. And I was having a look to see if there's any fun facts of that day. The funnest one I could get for you was the AFC Player of the Week that week was Mike White and the New York Jets. That's how long it's been. And I couldn't really believe what I was seeing. I just presumed, and again, I've done this so wrong so many times with Mike Tomlin teams, they just need to take care of business and they're getting the playoffs. They're done. It's a success. It's the Browns. But it really felt like their entire philosophy was, we're just not going to give up a sack today. Everything else can be secondary. And that is not a way to win football games. As we've seen, the Browns, I don't think the Browns did anything particularly special. Shedeur Sanders was efficient enough, although he did throw 2 picks, but 17-23. Yeah, he had some, his blows are so low. I think he's shown more than Dylan Gabriel, but like that's a really low bar. They need to be looking for a quarterback next year because Shedeur Sanders isn't it, ultimately. And, you know, there was no Quinton Judkins here because he's broke his leg last week. So again, you've got Dylan Sampson, Raheem Sanders toting the rock. The Browns look like a team that's trying to give up on the season, and yet they still beat the Steelers in their own building. And for next week, I don't know if this will be a long-term injury. I don't know how long-term the Steelers season is, but Darnell Washington broke his arm yesterday as well, who's been a real threat in not enough usage, in my opinion. I think they could use him so much more creatively. You know, they could use the Cody Ford package maybe that the Bengals are rolling out, but they don't. They just use him sparingly. And yeah, we get to go to Sunday Night Football. Unsurprisingly, NBC said, no, we don't want the NFC South. We want the Ravens Steelers for all the marbles. Steelers open as 3.5-point favorites. Obviously, we'll get to it in the review, but in the preview, sorry. But give me all
3.5-point underdogs.
Oh, the Steelers are underdogs.
Steelers are 3.5-point underdogs. So you know what we do in this situation.
Makes a lot more sense. Makes a lot more sense. Sorry, yeah. I thought I looked at it earlier. Well, I did look at it earlier. I obviously looked at it the wrong way. That makes some more sense. I'm just going to pile on the Ravens at plus 3.5. Ravens minus 3.5 is a bit more of a decision. Fair enough. And yeah, we'll get to it on the preview, obviously. We'll discuss it further. But great way for the season to end. 2 teams who've been underwhelming, but you know what these games are like. It certainly matters. There's hopefully be violence and bad blood.
Yeah, these guys don't get along. Yeah, I mean, not to spoil the preview already, but I think you know what while the Steelers is plus 3.5, I think you know what my bet is going to be for Sunday Night Football. We'll get there when the episode releases on Friday. Let's move on then to our weekly overreactions. I'm going to go to the Eagles-Bills game. Reigning champs show mettle in downpour. Eagles hold off late Bills fight back to secure a big road victory and remind us of their championship pedigree. I also can't read today. Yeah, I just thought obviously it was maybe a bit of a disappointing game in terms of it was real low scoring. It was a real defensive battle. And I know the Eagles may have got away with it at the end with obviously the Bills going for 2 and not making it. But they kept the Bills to 12 points at home. And not many teams can go into Buffalo and do that. Obviously, I think the weather was a big factor in it making it low scoring. But Jalen Carter was back, and he made a huge difference for the Eagles. I think they're going to roll through the playoffs. I think my reaction is they're going to win this with defense. We saw them do that in the Super Bowl last year against the down. Offense, there's still so many problems. It just doesn't look good. I think they can get through 4 games like this. I really do. Just scrapping and keeping teams to under 20 and then finding a way to just get enough to get by. I was impressed. It's so hard to win in Buffalo. I mean, we were talking about what a great record the Bills have had at home over the last 5-6 years. I was just really impressed with them just hanging on, and that's what it was really. And that defense was just so strong. And I just think in the playoffs, if they can do this to Buffalo, then I think they can do this to the Rams. I think they can do this to the Niners. I think they can do this to them all. And it won't be pretty, and it won't make for exciting games like we saw on Sunday Night Football, but it sure is damn effective. And, they've tried to, replicate the way they've been playing last year and the year before. Maybe they've just accepted they can't do that, and this is our way to win. And we're just going to stuff it up and make it scruffy and make the games disgusting. And I think they're good enough defensively to be able to do that and win 4 playoff games. What did you make in that lonely late slate that was on Sunday?
Yeah, I don't know if I've got the same confidence as you when a team going 16 yards in the second half in total offense is super. I think obviously last year Jalen Hurts went on a steam. I think you're going to need that as well. I think you can do it against certain teams, but to that 4 games in a row, if you're going to, when you get Rams when they're super hot or a team like that, are you going to be able to play stop and then put points back on? Obviously, defense is great. I saw somebody like Carter might be getting suspended for a game because the eye poke. I don't know if you saw that, like eye poke. Yeah. And there was some afterwards in the tunnels apparently, but I'm not quite sure what happens. But obviously, him coming back was huge, blocking the field goal. Again, this is another game where if Badgley, I think on the 3rd kicking out, if he kicks that extra point, then they only need an extra point to win this game. So, as ifs and buts, and how they drew up that play as well. Josh Allen had him open. It was a bad throw from Josh Allen, which you don't say too often, where Shaquille was open. They called the perfect play. So, again, this is another game where another playoff season where I'm not taking anything major from both teams. I think both teams can get to the Super Bowl. I think both teams could easily lose it in the first wildcard game as well, because I think they both have got that boom or bust kind of performance. Obviously, you've got the Eagles' defense, and I think the Bills' offense is, it does what it normally does. It doesn't do too much in the first half, but goes an absolute storm on the second half. And you look at some of the plays, obviously, there was a fumble by Josh Allen and I saw something online where they're saying the refs are now saying that they're getting refs to not blow the whistle down when there's like a fumble, so they're letting play continue. But what that causes that if it's a 50-50, I'm not quite sure they're going to always stick with the fumble because that was the decision and they made it play. So there's always that up in the air, and if that wasn't called, who knows what would have happened. But I think they're both 11-5. I think they're very similar teams, and I think again it is very matchup heavy based. I feel like if the Eagles get the Rams, I think you can stop certain teams for so long. But if your offense just does nothing in the second half, which they've done plenty of times, it's not a good outlook. Because I think there was some crazy fact of teams this year who has been under 20 yards in the second half. There's been 5, and I think Philly's 2 of them and won both, which is
Well, there's a couple flying about. There's been 10 occasions where a team has had 5 or fewer passing yards in the second half of games. 3 of them have been the Eagles. 3 of them have been the Eagles. They've won all 3 games. They can do it.
They can.
It's disgusting, but they can do it.
Yeah, I like you. I have less confidence in you in that being repeatable over an entire playoff spree. I just don't think the defense is that special to do it. I don't think this is the 2000 Ravens, for example, the 85 Bears. I just don't think they are. That said, Jalen Phillips, outstanding again. He had the most pressures of any D lineman in the league yesterday. Got 9, 1 sack. Jalen Hunt got 2 sacks. 2 players who, Hunt, not a mid-season addition, but has really come on the second half of the season. And obviously, Jalen Phillips, a huge addition. I just think they need to get a little more out of the offense for me to trust in it. And truthfully, I'm not going to trust in it because it's too far into the season to suddenly think they're going to revitalize at any point here. Could they win the Super Bowl? Of course they could, but they need to get better on offense to do so, in my opinion. I don't think you can rely on, missed field goals and holding teams to 12 points. I don't think that's repeatable week in, week out. I think you can do it here and there, but not generally.
It's fair. I think these 2 in Week 18 just jockeying for position. Nothing much to play for. So we'll see how they roll as we get into wildcard weekend. Let's roll over to your overreaction, Byron.
Yeah, Buck's going to be going back to the 90s. Time for a Bowls cut. 4 years of division successes, but playoff splutters and a lack of identity. Even a division win should see Todd cut loose a year too late. They obviously had the opportunity to promote from within last year and get Liam Cohen in the building. They already had him in the building, but promote to the head job. And I think if you offer them that swap right now, they would snatch your hand off for it. Todd Bowles is 4 years in. He's barely got a winning record, which is surprising for someone who's won the division 4 years in a row. They are 34-33 after 67 games as Tampa Bay head coach. The defense isn't special in any way. It hasn't been throughout his tenure, really. I don't know if they've had a top 10 defense once, maybe once. 1-3 in the playoffs, taking over, obviously, from Bruce Arians' Tom Brady team. It's done well to win the division repeatedly, but yet again here, this was Dolphins 20, Quinn Ewers, Dolphins 20, Buccaneers 17. They just can't take care of business. They can still finish bottom of the division as well as win the division next week if the Falcons win tonight on Monday Night Football. Big if, obviously. But it's just telling what kind of division it is. The Bucs need a clean sweep. I think they've got plenty of talent on the roster. They've had a lot of injuries this year, etc., etc. But over the last 2 years, I've lost 2 head coach offensive coordinators. Dave Canales, obviously, who's going to try and get in the playoffs at Todd Bowles' expense next week. Liam Cohen, who I think is a coach of the year candidate this year. Despite what the book is now telling me, you can get him at like 50-1. Seems like it's decided it's Mike Vrabel. But Todd Bowles just isn't it. You're not seeing the future there. Cut the rug loose and, everybody get a bowl cut.
That is an outstanding scenario here where you're going into a win and win the division game. But the consequence of you not winning is you finishing bottom of the division potentially. So it requires the Saints and Falcons to win. But that's just madness. And only could happen in the NFC South. I think that ball stat, I heard it on another show a while ago. So I think at that point there'd have been 3 games over 500. And I think it's just a damning indictment of the NFC South more than anything, I think, as well, in terms of just kind of how poor that division has been for quite a long time now. So, and we'll get off the NFC South. Hey, but I think I mentioned this when we did the preview. Dolphins plus 5.5 was my favorite bet of the week. I loved it. The Bucs are just, kind of what you just said there, just a bit aimless, just not really going anywhere. And I just fancied that Quinn Ewers would likely play better. And this is the second week, and they did, and the Bucs were just putrid. I don't know where it stands. I still feel like I'm leaning the Bucs to beat the Panthers, just the experience factor, but they're coming in on a 4-game losing streak, and that's.
I think the problem is
Panthers.
Baker looks injured as well. I think that's going to be. There's going to be a few headlines coming out this season, but I think that's one of the. His shoulder injury was a lot worse than he was saying, and it's like separated, and we've seen Baker get kicked. Well, he left Browns from playing through a shoulder injury, so we'll see what happens.
Excellent, just bizarre. We'll see how it is. That's the Saturday early game of the 3 kind of key division head-to-head matchup. So we'll, see how we get on with that one. Not the one I was wanting in that slot, to be honest with you. Anyway, selfish reasons.
I don't know how to bury bad news.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's move on to. Oh, Joe, do you want to talk through yours? He's on mute as well. What a disaster that was.
I've got the Patriots against the Jets. 42-10. May VP seals Pat's first AFC East title since 2019. Patriots demolished the Jets, scoring 5 TDs or 6 TDs on their first 6 drives. Altitude levels for Glenn staying on as head coach dropping rapidly. This was, again, the Jets are absolutely putrid. I was in a camp that I feel like he was going to stay on, just with how he came in and the attitude and changing the Jets around. But it's been atrocious. The last few games, they've conceded 29 against the Jets, 40 against the Jags, 34 against the Dolphins. They're just ending the season on such a bad note. Obviously, they got rid of the defensive coordinator, but nothing has changed, and he came in as a defensive player. He's got a very Jared Mayo kind of feel about it, against the Patriots, who got rid of their head coach after 1 year and went to Mike Vrabel. And it's just not looking great. But on the Patriots side, they've sealed the AFC East. May was just outstanding. I think, what was his main fact? He is the first player in NFL history to complete 90% of his passes, 250 plus passing yards, and 5 TDs in a single game. I still think it's in between him and Stafford. I'm curious how Stafford played against the Falcons, because I think if he has a huge game, then I think, again, it's a coin toss. But these are kind of performances to sway voters, especially at the end of the season. And when you're getting taken off by the and Patriots playing in the third quarter, your franchise is going down the toilet with the Jets, and it's just not looking good for them at all. And again, I came into this year being positive about the Jets. I was thinking they were going to have a good year, but I don't know. I don't know where they go. And sometimes bad teams just stay bad teams, and there's a few of them around the league, and the Jets is one of them. But yeah, the Patriots just show it. I still obviously worry about the defense you're playing against the Jets, where I think the Mays stats, I think the second best stats is Trevor Lawrence against the Jets 2 weeks ago in a single game. So you can't take too much away from it, but you just got to beat who's in front of you, and they go to play the Dolphins next week, and they might be able to rest a few players on the night, still be going for that number one. So I think they're in a tricky position with what's happening with the Chargers, probably resting their players, that they'll probably not get that number one seed. So I wonder if they'll have May the first half against some of the other teams and bring in the Patriots to finish it off.
Yeah, Patriots have the Dolphins next week. Had problems in Miami, of course, as well. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, just quickly on the Jets, I won't spend too much time talking about. But I kind of feel obviously when they punted at the trade deadline, didn't they, in terms of you want to get rid of Sauce and got rid of Quinn Williams, that actually I think if you're doing that and getting those, I think it's pretty harsh to judge then Aaron Glenn on kind of what happens the rest of the way, because you just took arguably their two best players away. So I don't know, but it's a lot of responsibility. 5 first-round picks or whatever it is that they've got now over the next couple of years. Do you trust him with them? Do you trust, him as the coach of that? Because if you don't get it right this time, it's just never going to happen, I don't think.
There'll be another time in 3 years, don't worry.
Yeah, but it's also a bit like, obviously they punted the two best players on defense, but there's teams who have lost, two of the best players on defense, or have lost plenty of players, and they're not. It looks like the lack of effort and just the whole organization. I think that's the worry. If they were putting up more of a fight, not just like I said, 6 touchdowns in the first 6 possessions, and I think if Drake May carried on playing, they probably would have got 10 touchdowns in 10 possessions. They just weren't stopping them, and I think that's just the biggest worry, that it's just all gone to pot. And it's maybe not last year, but the year before, they were one of the best defenses in the league, so they've suddenly just gone from one of the best to arguably the worst between them and Bengals.
Quite a run. Go on.
Do have a couple of stats just on the Jets collapse in itself, I guess. Jets play, obviously, in Highmark Stadium next week. The Bills, it'll be the last regular season game for the Bills to host. If the Jets lose by 21 or more points, they'll be the first team in Super Bowl history to lose by 21 or more in 5 consecutive games. Just to put a stamp on how bad they really have been. And Garrett Wilson, last quarter pass on October 12th. He is the Jets' leading receiver still. He has 395, I believe, yards. Yeah, 395. Mason Taylor is second, 369. Absolute putrid roster.
And still 0 interceptions as well. So the
I just thought an interception, yeah. Who have they got next week? They play the
Bills.
Bills. Gotta be next
At least
week.
Joe listens to me.
Sorry. Gotta be next week.
Yeah, Mitchell Trubisky might give him one.
Yeah.
I don't think we're seeing a full day of Josh Allen.
Yeah, that's probably a good shout. That could be worth the over half an interception on the Jets defense. Yeah, or Mitch maybe, I don't know. Part I was going to say is just quite ironic how it's their previous head coach is successfully or relatively successfully dealing with a decimated defensive side of the ball. Robert Saleh in San Fran managed to kind of make it work with losing Fred Warner, losing Joey Bosa, and losing. Sunday was a bad example, but in the main, managed to make it work. Right,
it does help a lot when you have Kyle Shanahan's offense on the other side of the field, though.
Yeah, it does a lot.
And not Garrett Wilson, your leading receiver, who hasn't caught a ball in 2 months.
Was it October the 12th, was it, yeah? That was last time he caught a pass, wasn't it? Excellent. Right, let's go to our fourfold challenge. Speaking of that Jets rebuild, it might never ever happen. I don't think I'm ever going to hit a fourfold. Let's go to the fourfold challenge. Somehow, I'm still alive in being able to potentially catch Byron, depending how the Rams go tonight against the Falcons. Sadly, I've laid that bet, so yeah, I have to have a losing bet. But yeah, Byron, if the Rams cover by 8 or more than 8, it's over. I will be doing the forfeit. Joe's I don't think Joe can be caught, can he? So there's only 5. You've only got 5 left. So Joe's won. Congratulations.
Let's get 8 guests in this week.
Yeah. We can try. I think I might have accidentally double booked as well, but yeah, Joe, 40-20. Congratulations on winning the fourfold challenge, Joe, with a week to spare. Well done. Excellent. 2 3-1s and a 1-2 and 1 to go. So yeah, bear in mind on your favourite on Monday Night Football still to come, Rams at Falcons, over in Steelers Browns, under in Cowboys Commanders. That last field goal the Commanders kicked to bring it from 10-7 is what boned you. Ended up 53. Again, I don't want to spend too much time talking about that, but this was Christmas Day. Christmas Day was just a washout, wasn't it? Really, I think the 3 games. Good first half though from the Cowboys and put on a bit of a show up until halftime.
Yeah, I think on offense, absolutely fine. Come on to Turpin, bomb. Annoyingly, I had CD Lamb to catch a long touchdown at a very long price. But he went to Cavante Turpin, as you know, Sod's Law does it to you. Yeah, I don't think too much. I don't think we need to spend any time really on this game. Commanders are really, really bad, and Cowboys are, you know, about where we thought they would be. I think over the season, been some ups, been some downs, but I think when we've done our previews, we said about 9-8, and thereabouts.
Yeah, they can complete the truly mid-season with a win against the Giants to go 8-1, 500 through 17 games, which is an incredible achievement, I think, to be honest, if they can do it. Don't think it's going to get done very often in a 17-game season. Cool, that was Cowboys Commanders. You had the Ravens as a 3-point underdog. Of course, they won outright. I had Saints Titans as my over, and 34-26. Tyler Shough does it again. He is now favourite for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Odds-on favourite, I think, for Offensive Rookie of the Year, overtaking Ted McMillan. If he wins in Week 18, he'll have gone 6-3 as a starter.
Really impressive, yeah. He's got better by the weeks as well, I think, so. Yeah,
they really do seem to be onto something there, the Saints. The Saints moved 6-10, and was just a bit of a crazy game and fun game. And Cam Ward as well had some highlights that were just outstanding. Shame the one where his knee touched, where he threw it sideways, which was an incredible throw, and just sadly his knee bumped. But plenty of highlights for Cam. Tyler Shough, looks good. Chris Olave is looking great as well. I think it's probably enough to ensure he sticks around as well with the Saints. And Saints vibing. And of course, our new weekly segment, How Awesome Was Charlie Smith this week? Pretty damn awesome. 56, 57 yard field goals. All 4 extra points. He missed one from the 40, I think it was 43. He's so good at those long kicks. Yeah. Those kind of late 50s, and they are right down the middle. Look like they're good from 70 plus. So another pretty solid week from Charlie. Tennessee 3-13. Probably I don't think they're going to get the number 1 pick out of it, and Saints 6-10, and could not finish bottom of the division, which is incredible given, I suppose, where they were. Could end with 5 straight wins. They've got the Falcons in Week 18.
Same record as the Patrick Mahomes Kansas City Chiefs and the Joe Burrow Bengals. Very, very, very impressive rookie job by Kellen Moore. I think so. He kept them from going under, didn't he, when there was a risk of that happening. So he's not going to get reference with like your Ben Johnsons, Liam Cohen's, but I think it's just a really impressive job.
Lots to look forward to for the New Orleans Saints. Bears, I had Bears Niners under, which was insane. So it was under 52.5 and it ended up at 80. 80 points. Outstanding. I've been so far, like, not even just a little bit wrong on these totals, like not just getting, unlucky here, unlucky there, just so far away. I had the Patriots as 30.5-point favourites. We just discussed that, Joe did. And then I had the Browns as 3-point underdogs. Love the Browns as well against the Steelers. Joe, you have the Texans +2 as your underdog. The Saints 2.5-point favourites, which they covered. Over 53.5 in Cardinals Bengals. How did this not hit?
It was 51.
51, I think,
I think it was the Cardinals didn't score as many points as expected. Joe Flacco was introduced to the game in the 4th quarter, which stopped it that way because Joe Burrow was going up and down and doing what he wants, throwing to his all lineman who was actually lined up as a wide receiver, which was a bit of a fuck you play to the Cardinals. It felt like
that was great
for 21 yards. I don't know what the tackling was doing, but yeah, the Cardinals just playing shot like that. Like them and the Jets have had, the worst endings to the season. And I think that's another Gannon. I think halfway through the season, I thought they've got to keep him for next year, but I think he might be going as well, just because their record in the last few weeks, they're suddenly just concede so many. And, they brought Jacoby Brissett in. They said Kyler Murray was the issue. But since he's been the starter, they're 1-10. So, maybe he might. I know, Kyler's not, putting himself in glory and whatnot. And Brissett's actually played well, but still, he's 1-10. Maybe it's everything else around it. What's the issue?
In the last hour, Gannon said he's confident he will still be the coach come Monday, which is the sign that he's going to be fired first thing on Monday morning.
Shout out to Trey McBride in the game, though. He had the record of a number of receptions from Titan, which we keep talking about, is Sackett. He's done it in the 16 games as well, so do like when they hit him in the 16 games, so no one can say, they only got it in the 17 games.
Are you sure it wasn't Dallas Goedert's record?
Was it Dallas Goedert then? Oh, I have no idea.
No, it was Sackett.
Outstanding. So he's on 119. Obviously, he's got a game to go to pad that, I guess. But outstanding. And he also broke, in the same rep, DeAndre Hopkins' single season catches record for the Cardinals. That stood at 115. So he surpassed that as well. So a couple of records left for Trey McBride. He has been outstanding. Byron, you were talking off air about he's 100 points clear of the next tight end from fantasy perspective, just to show how dominant his season has been.
Yeah, insane.
Yeah, outstanding stuff. Trey McBride, I'm sure he's glad that we've shouted him out on the show. And then Joe, your under was Bucks, Dolphins under 45.5, which hit relatively comfortably. I guess it was 37, wasn't it? So yeah. Cool, excellent. That is our fourth challenge. We've only got one more of these left. I guess we will do something. Do we do something slightly different for the playoffs? Yeah, excellent. We'll do something slightly different for the playoffs with a fewer games, of course. So onto our ATS games, ATS picks for the week. It's week 17, man. Excellent. Yeah, week 17, Jason. So not dead this year, I don't think. I think you're 14 behind, Byron. Is that right?
I'm trying to see where it is. Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
14 behind with 16 to go. So he's going to take something pretty remarkable. I just need 3, I guess, on the week. Yeah, so you need me to go 2 and whatever the numbers are, 2 and 14 to have a shot.
So you're saying there's a chance?
You're saying there's a chance, yeah. Me and Joe 9-5-1 this week. Byron 5-9-1. I guess there's still obviously Monday Night Football. I know we're all the same. It doesn't matter.
Sorry, Paul. I've just realised they've not been updated. You actually won this. So
I've won. I thought so.
Yeah.
I thought I was about 14 ahead last week. Yeah. It's done. Yeah. There is no
chance. You're saying there's no chance. Yeah.
You're saying there is no chance. Well, yeah. There we go. Live update. Yeah, 132. Joe, you've not got 1,000, right? 132 to Byron's 114, so it's 18 clear. So sorry, mate. Done. So excellent. Good to at least win one of the competitions. Let's start then. Christmas Day was a disaster, wasn't it? We talked about
the for 9.
Yeah, Cowboys already. So it was -7, ended up as a push. It was -9 by the time the game went, by the time I put my bet on. Obviously, the Commanders covered that. The Lions, let's talk about the Lions a little bit. It just finally petered out. And again, this might be, I think I said to I don't think I've seen them play as bad since they started getting good under Dan Campbell. I think this might have topped it all. This was awful. 6 turnovers, 2 picks and 4 lost fumbles. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. And the Vikings, again, Max Brosman, 9 for 16, 51. The defense ultimately won the game for them. And that Jordan Addison run end around. But the Lions, I just feel like I keep putting the booting on the Lions, but this feels like they've just got so many problems they need to fix that I don't know if they are getting to the point where they might just need to start again. Difficult to do that when you've got all the money tied up in who you've got it tied up in, though.
I don't think I'm as down. I think they've got key players in key spots nailed down. So they've got the 2 wide receivers. They're not going to change quarterback. I think they just need to. It's easier said than done. I think the biggest difference is that offensive line. I think if they get the inside of the offensive line sorted, they'll be back to where they were. I think they're going to lose some players. I think Montgomery put a few posts up online, which he wasn't too happy about. And, that defense, we said they needed someone across from Hutchinson. So they just need a few more smart, maybe veterans just to work out, and then just, hopefully hit on some draft picks because they've not always hit on them. So I'm not as downbeat about the Lions. And it's on the flip side, the Vikings at the end of the season, amazing. I can't remember what the stat was now, but I know that the defense has got a crazy stat of just how good they've been the last few weeks. And again, they're another team. If they had a capable quarterback to start the year in that mid-period when they kept losing them games, then they would be in for a playoff shout because that defense has been great, especially down the stretch. So, yeah.
It's just kind of wild considering these two.
Sorry, go on, Barry.
I was going to say, it's just wild, like, how you think about these two teams, that they're both 8-8.
Yeah. Like,
the Vikings feel like maybe not one of the bottom tier teams. I know I've held them up more than I should have done a lot of the year because I thought they were going to be so good coming into the year. And the Lions feel like they could still be a contender if just a couple of things break right. And yet they're both 8-8. It just feels like two teams who should be at the opposite end of the season, really.
Yeah, not all 8-8s are built the same. Cool. Let's then. The Broncos struggled with the Chiefs, but got there in the end. They scored within the last 2 minutes to go 20 to win 20-13. Yeah, again, a lot of it's a very defensive game, but again, are you down on the Broncos after this? After it's such a struggle to put this Chiefs team away, or again, is it just one of them short week standalone games, funky with the third string quarterback thing? Like,
I was going to say from my point of view, I think that defense is going to keep them in games. I think if they're going to get to the Super Bowl, it's Bo Nix and Sean Payton need to step it up. And some games they have, some games they haven't, like the Jags. I think generally this defense is going to keep teams to probably maximum 20 points. I know they conceded quite a few against Jags, but I think game on, game out. So again, it doesn't change much. They won the game. They've won a lot of games like this all year. So again, can they do that over 3 games if they get that number 1 seed, which I think they will. So that'll certainly help them out and teams having to go to Mile High. But yeah, the AFC is there's not a strong team. So again, I wouldn't be surprised if they made it all the way.
Excellent. Cool. On to the talked about. Me and Joe had the Texans. Byron and Joe had the Ravens. All on the Patriots. Beat and Joe on the Bengals. Seattle Seahawks, 7-point favorites, end up covering against the Panthers 27-10. Again, what are you taking away from the Seahawks from this one?
They were good, yeah. I don't know if there's too much to take away. I think we know who the Seahawks are at this point. Darnold, I thought was, good enough. Not shining, but again, like, he's bounced back from having what I think could have buried him in years gone by, and he's come back just fine. 6 wins in a row. And yeah, very, very big one coming up on Saturday, but I don't think nothing we didn't know. A shame to see JSN's kind of petered a little down the stretch. He's not going to get that receiving record, but an incredible season nonetheless. And just kind of interesting, this is a fantasy note. Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker ended up with identical points per game with so much, who's going to be the running back. Is Kenneth Walker finally going to be unleashed this year? And they both ended up with 10.1 fantasy points per game. Just kind of thought it was very funny that it was identical.
Yeah, excellent. Charbonnet, big game. This one, 110 for 2 touchdowns. But yeah, Seahawks go to winner takes all. Panthers go to win it, and you're in. We talked about just me on the Browns against the Steelers. All of us were on the Saints. Joe, 6.5. I bet it at 5.5, which covered. You got it at 6.5 here. Yeah. What do we make of the Jags in this one? Again, this felt like a struggle as well. And I guess divisional games can be at this point late in the season. But Trevor Lawrence might just be the second coming of Cam Newton.
Might be. Does he jump? If the ball gets fumbled, he doesn't jump on it? Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Again, I think it's games you expect them to win, and they still won. I think when you look at They fumbled it. There was an interception in the end zone. There's a few things they did which was, not amazing. They had the 4th and 1 which didn't get in, but it feels like the better team won. They got the chances to win it, and they won. And Old Man Rivers, he had a decent game for someone who's 44, and it was interesting at the end where the was it Josh Hines Allen gave away another delay of game penalty to set them up, and you thought, is this going to be another game which is caused by that? It's like, there's 6 seconds left. Why are you laying on someone? They're never going to be able to stay on time. And Riley Leonard came in, but I think they've already announced Riley Leonard's probably going to play week 18. So that might be Rivers' career, unless the Colts ring him up in a year or two's time when they're struggling with the next quarterback.
Yes, I mean school's back on Monday, so he's got to get past. Awesome, they flew the kids out. I think he took the high school kids from the football team, got them there to Indy for the game, which was pretty cool. It was a pretty nice touch, to be fair. So, it was fun while it lasted. With the crazy, and we talked about the Colts and whatever they were. What were they? 8-2, 8-1? Was it 8-1?
I think it was 8-1. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lost to the Rams.
And
is that it?
Oh, well, 6 in a row, so it was 8-2, wasn't it? Yeah, 8-2, and then it's come to this. Yeah, missing out.
I like listening to Philip Rivers speak afterwards. No regrets. He's delighted with the way it went. He'd love to have won more games. That was his only regret. But I just thought, it's something to seek out. I would guess he's just spoke for a couple of minutes, clipped up on Twitter, NFL. So, yeah, I just thought he spoke really well about it. Kind of like why I watch sports is these stories of, he didn't win any games, but he came in and I think he looked really good. Much better than I anticipated, I will say. I thought he was going to I don't want to say embarrass himself, but I thought he'd, he might get physically hurt because he's an older guy and didn't look in, peak Philip Rivers condition. And he was never, an athlete, but I just really like the way he spoke about it. Really good experience for him. Yeah,
he was awesome, and he came in and gave us some interesting games that might not have been, if he wasn't there, and gave the Seattle Seahawks one hell of a scare a couple of weeks ago as well. So yeah, it was awesome. Big thanks to Big Phil. Just me on the Dolphins plus the 5.5, which we've talked about already. The Giants, you had them, Joe, and this flipped in the end. The Giants were, I think, 2.5-point favorites by the time it gets off because the Raiders so it was Brock Bowers, a combination of Brock Bowers and Max Crosby, not available. And that Max Crosby story, it feels like it's got a hell of a lot more to it. So the team have shut him down, citing that he needs like a knee shaving sort of surgery. Crosby said he was fine to play, and then posted videos of him playing basketball and such. This feels like it's heading for a very, very messy divorce between Max Crosby and the Raiders.
100%. Yeah. Pete Carroll will be gone. Max Crosby could well be gone.
New QB there.
New QB, Geno Smith probably done.
Yeah, I feel very sorry for Federico Mendoza. He's going to be probably sent to Las Vegas and have to start with his professional life there. It's not a pretty situation. But yeah, the Giants, we talked about it a little bit. We'll spend too much on it. Boned by Wan'Dale Robinson, which I think we'll get to in Fantasy Game Day. But he was kind of the one bright spark in this game. I sort of thought, when you're looking at it, when you don't have your daily fantasy lenses on it. But 11 for 113, he's kind of really the only one. And Jackson Dart ran in for another 2 touchdowns. Again, bumping up his fantasy points and fantasy standing to finish the season. Whether it's the answer or not, we discussed it last week. We will see. Just me on the Eagles, and then all of us on the San Francisco 49ers. So yeah, 9-5-1 for me and Joe, 5-9-1 for Byron, and that's sewn up. Just Fantasy Game Day then to finish us off this week, or are we doing the run through the bets first? Should we do that? Let's do that. Run through the bets first. Big week, obviously more games, so more bets shared, but I think it's 24 winning bets, and we'll run through them, shared by us over the course of our pod and social channels of the course of week 17, which is insane amount. And particularly if you were following Byron and his bets that got posted on Sunday. You had a good week. I think we've got a 17 to 1 or 14 to 1 winner. Plenty of others at 2 to 1 plus as well. But we'll run through. Joe, we'll run through you first. So Joe gave you a 2 to 1 winner on Christmas Day. Cowboys Commanders. Dak 300 plus passing yards and 2 passing touchdowns at 2 to 1. Justin Herbert 30 plus rushing yards on the Saturday at 7 to 4. Derrick Henry 125 plus rushing yards at 51 to 20. 5 to 2. Seahawks over 1.5 rushing touchdowns at 27 to 20. Caleb and Brock Purdy 250 plus passing yards at 11 to 4. Jake Tonjes anytime touchdown at 11 to 4. He's hit that a couple of times. I mean, it's been a favourite of the season. Bengals -7, Patriots -13.5, and Giants -3 at 6 to 1. Is that the first treble that's come in? Is that your first treble on them that's hit this year?
May have done one at the start of the year, but yeah, it's been a while. So
that's a 6 to 1 winner there. And you also had at 10 to 11 Patriots Jets over, Jags Colts under. Yeah, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 winners just from you, Joe. Byron, you gave us Chris Oladoku under 28.5 pass attempts at 10 to 11. Ravens money line at 7 to 5. Derrick Henry over 17.5 rush attempts at even money, which I think possibly hit by halftime.
I think it might have hit in the first quarter.
That Ravens game. Luther Bird in the third, 50 plus receiving yards at even money as well. And then this is where the heavy hitters came. Patriots -26.5 at 9 to 2. Patriots over 34.5 points, 3 to 1. Bengals over 34.5 points, at 2 to 1. Baker Mayfield, the Sunday passing leader, just about did, but 14 to 1 hit on Baker. And then one of my favorite bets of the year, Drake May 5 plus passing touchdown at 17 to 1. The only worry is, was he going to be sacked before he hit the fifth one? That was a genuine concern with how that game was going. So yeah, outstanding stuff there. Drake made 5 plus passing touchdowns at 17 to 1. And then I gave you until Saturday, Texans +2. Malik Willis anytime touchdown scorer at 15 to 4. Dallas Goedert anytime touchdown scorer at 5 to 2. A lot of touchdown scorers this week. Jags -5.5. Patriots -13.5. Dolphins +5.5. Saints Titans over 39.5. I think that is all 24 that we've given out, and we've still got Monday Night Football to go. So let's just hit all 6 on Monday Night Football and get to 30 for the week. Again, not tipsters, not betting experts on any stretch of imaginations. That's 24 winners. That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money won over the course of a week. Plenty lost as well because, that's that didn't win. And plenty of them as well. But plenty of winners. And when you're hitting 17 to 1 shots, you make more than you lose. So well done, Byron. And well done, Joe, as well. 9 winners. Fantasy Game Day, heartbreaker. Alluded to already. My entry was so close to winning, 2 points short. But congratulations to Witchin72, who scored the magic number, 200 points, 200.62. Captain Chris Olave, 51 or 52, really. Tyler Shook, 22. Chase Brown, 29. Rondre Stevenson, 27. Wandale Robinson, which was the winner, 22 with his 11 goddamn catches. Brian Thomas Jr. 7. Audrey Estime, 16.8. And Trey McBride, 23.5. So I had in mind 1, 2, 3. 4 of those I had. Shook, Brown, Stevenson, McBride. So not too much difference. But yeah, shout out. It's a great team build. Got her.
Again, I shout out us. There was half of that team we shouted out in the 10-minute tips.
Yeah. Outstanding. Who did I have different? I had Jacoby. I had Jacoby Myers as well, who scored exactly the same number of points as Brian Thomas Jr. I had Jamar Chase and Charbonnet as well, and Barner were my other ones. So all great hits, but yeah. Well done. We'll try again. But make sure you go and play in the final regular season week of Fantasy Gameday for the season. Go download the app, promo code COVER. Get yourself a free entry after first play. And download it now from the Apple App Store, Google Play Store. Got to be 18 years or over in the UK. And of course, please gamble responsibly. No Thursday Night Football for us to preview this week because Thursday Night Football is done. So we'll be back with our preview for Week 18, our final regular season preview of the season. We've got one, potentially two guests. We've been trying to be organised around if we got to these winning in situations, we'll get somebody from that. And we've got two of them from the people we were speaking to. So maybe two guests, we'll see. But that will drop Friday, the 2nd of January. So thank you for everybody following and listening, viewing, whatever you do, interacting. We've got teams and great teams cover for the calendar year of 2025. Hopefully we'll make it bigger and better in 2026. But we'll see you on Friday for our Week 18 preview show.